Welcome to Life Happens, where Texans come to protect their legacy and prepare for the second half of life. Join your host, Attorney Kim Hegwood of Your Legacy Legal Care, and our weekly guest as we navigate the challenges that emerge as life happens. Now here's your host, Kim Hegwood.
Good morning and welcome to Life Happens with me, Kim Hegwood, and our very special guest today is Dee Latiolais. Good morning.
Good morning.
And so I'm super glad to have you on the show. And Dee and I had lunch last month and she was telling me about some good stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to get you on the podcast. And so I'm super excited to have you here. And we're going to talk about 3 reasons you need home care. Who can help you pay for it, and those types of things, because you have some cool stuff we're going to tease our listeners and give it to them at the end. But let's start about what you do. Do you work for Homestead? And talk about what kind of services that y'all provide.
Yes, I am with Homestead. I'm recently named the #1 home care company in America, so I'm very proud to be working for them. We provide any number of services for personal care, sitting services. Sometimes it's called when you're sitting with someone in the hospital, etc. But we assist with activities of daily living, dressing, showering, transferring from wheelchair to bed. We can do some light housekeeping and cooking, go to the grocery store, take mom to go get a pedicure, take her to see her friends at the senior center. Basically, we can do anything they need that is non-medical.
And I look forward to having somebody drive me around one day.
I know.
You're like, wait a minute, I think I could use a little help right here. But let's talk a little bit more about what y'all do. Let's dig a little deeper here. And let's talk about why you think it's important to have an advocate, by your side when you're in the hospital or in the rehab facility.
It is very important to have someone there with you, even if you just need ice or water. If you have someone by your side, they can immediately go get it. Many times your adult children are working and they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I don't have time to go sit at the hospital, but I'm so worried about mom being there by herself. That is a great time to have someone come and stay with mom and assist her, get her water, go let the nurse know she needs something right away if they don't answer the call bell. If she's starting to walk next to her, take her down to where they're doing activities and accompany her so that she's not nervous because she's in a new environment and things of that nature. Also, we write an individual care plan for each client, and the adult children also participate in that. So we can keep notes as to what's going on, and we communicate with the families also as to what's going on. So I just think it's important to have an advocate, even when someone is transitioning into assisted living, independent living, or anything like that. It's a great time to have someone there to help you make that transition.
I just think it's helpful just to have somebody there,
Yeah.
So, I think it's because sometimes, the hospitals don't have enough nursing staff, depending on how full it is, to have people close by,
Exactly.
that can, run and do all those things. And so always helpful to have somebody else there. But you also are pretty much an advocate of having someone with them when they get home after being hospitalized.
Absolutely. Again, I people that have children, grandchildren, neighbors who watch out for them, if they're working or they have life events going on, they need to have the client needs to have someone with them, someone that can be a companion to them, that can go to the kitchen and get them something. Maybe they're only supposed to be on their feet a certain time during the day. And if they have a list of do's and don'ts, our caregivers can certainly follow that and assist the patient with that as well. So also, again, communicating with the family members. If you have someone on site with mom or dad when they come home from the hospital or rehab, we can help with that. We can help take notes and notice things that are great or maybe alarming. We can really help follow the orders that are issued by the hospital at discharge. But most importantly, we can be there 24/7. We can sit right next to their bed. And if they're stressed out, that will really, really help with them.
I think too, a lot of people when they come home from the hospital, they're a little weak, because you've been laid up in bed for a while, and just having someone there just in case, I think is always really helpful. And so in that aspect of it, and so when when you're home and you start to maybe decline or have an illness or anything, why do you? When should a spouse bring in home care help?
As soon as possible for several reasons. One reason that always comes to mind from my experience in the senior industry overall, you don't want to wait till it becomes an urgent matter or an emergency where you're going, oh my God, what do I do first? What do I do? So if you get this set up in advance, try it out maybe, see what home care is all about, then you've got all the records and contracts and everything that need to be signed, and all you have to do is make a phone call. Because as y'all know, when we have an emergency, there's an anxiety flare up, and there's like, what do I do? Who do I call? Um, and we don't want to wait till it gets to that point. Secondly, the adult child, if they're the caregiver for the greater time with mom or dad, they're not making time for themselves. They're not refueling, as it were. They're not taking any time to just so that they can fill back up to be able to start all over again. So they need to take 4 hours even. Or if it's, a lady, maybe she wants to go get her nails done or go to lunch with her friends just to get a break so she can breathe. And I think that's really important because the last thing we want is for the caregivers, whoever they may be, to get burned out. We don't want you to get burned out because that stress will lead to you being sick and everything else. So don't do that to yourself. Get a caregiver that can come in and relieve some of those duties. Remember, we can take mom to the doctor. We can take her to therapy. We can take her to get her hair done, to go to the drugstore. We can do all these things for you. So allow yourself to have that time with yourself or your family.
And so I feel like you're preaching to the choir here. When my grandmother started declining, I asked my grandfather, what can we do? What do you need? He's like, nope, it's my job to take care of her, so, no, I'm good. And I was like, okay, but, we're here. I've got all kinds of, this was even before, this is God, 20 years ago. So before really elder law was really a big thing, and, and it wasn't until he had a stroke that we were able to come in and actually do stuff, so so I preach to caregivers all the time. I don't want you to hit that stage before you say, I need help, and it's okay to ask for help. And so, because I tell people all the time, you've got to sleep, you have to eat, you have to exercise, find a hobby. I had a conversation with the client. I said, what do you like to do? He said, I don't know. I've worked and then I'm taking care of her. So I don't even know. I'm like, what would you want to do? Let's try that approach, so anything to just distracting, rest. I told one client, go home and take a nap. They're going to be there for 4 hours. Go home and take a nap. You look like you really need some more sleep. So not to be ugly, but it's very, you can see it, so
Oh, for
definitely.
sure. I agree completely. Even if they just want someone to come in, I don't recommend this because you need more time to recoup than this, but even if you want someone to come in once a month, just get that process started and see how it goes, see how everything is done. Make sure you're comfortable because, caregiver, you don't have to be in charge all the time. I promise you. Let us help you.
Yeah, definitely. So, speaking of, helping, how do you get what do you talk to potentially new clients? Because a lot of times it's the adult child, how do you help them convince a parent to accept home care help? Because everybody's, I'm independent, I can take care of stuff. And how do you help them navigate that with their families?
I've had this conversation for over 20 years with families in assisted living, skilled nursing, all the different things. And through all those different things, it's still the same. They're worried. They're worried. They're like, oh my God, this is my mom, and now I'm taking care of her instead of her taking care of me. And how do I tell her this? What Depending upon whether someone has memory or impairment or not, that's a whole different other conversation. But basically, you just convince them that it's temporary and we're going to try it out. And if it doesn't work, we don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
That's the most effective way, in my opinion.
Yeah, a lot of times it's just like, let's try this. If you don't like it, whatever, you might even enjoy the company, just having somebody to chit chat with, So I think that's really important sometimes too. And so, but all right, so now we're getting to the good part. And so this is the part that I was so excited about when we were having lunch is a lot of the resources that Home Instead uses and are aware of that can help families pay for home care because it's not as cheap as it used to be. And so,
No. So there are several options there. One of the things that we have found is that there are a lot of seniors out there that have a long-term care policy. They don't even know what it is. They just pay for it every month. They've had it for 99 years. And typically, a home care policy is going to pay for your assistance in the home or wherever you call home at that time. So it's always a good idea to think about that. We are more than happy to do a policy review and tell you just exactly what that policy covers. There's also a veterans a benefit in the community care network that will pay for home care. If someone is already on VA benefits, it usually takes just a phone call to the right person at the VA to get this motion going to get home care started and paid for by the VA. If you have someone you talk to frequently at the VA, a nurse or a case manager, social worker, whatnot, you can start by talking to them. If you don't have that person, you can call me and I'll tell you who to contact. There are also, of course, where there's private pay, there are also some grants out there, and they change yearly. So I'm not sure what they're going to be effective for 2025. But the Parkinson's Society, Houston Area Parkinson's Society, they offer some grant money to assist with home care to those diagnosed with Parkinson's that need home care. And that, excuse me, that is done on their website. And previously, the only home care company they worked with is Home Instead. So you have to specifically tell them, or the VA or whoever you're working with, specifically who you want to provide your service. And there is another charity out there that is funded by Seth Rogen. It's called Hilarity for Charity. And they provide grant money for those that have memory impairment, dementia, Alzheimer's, etc. And there's a process online for them that you fill out. And my recommendation is when applying for any of grant money, make your story personal. Tell them what's going on. Attach photos. Share your heart with them because, they get a lot of requests and we want to make sure that they understand your heart.
definitely. And so, and I didn't realize there were so many, grant opportunities out there to help pay for home care for people who don't have long-term care insurance. And so that was really exciting for me, which is why I had Dee on the show today, because I think our listeners really need to do a lot more research to see what else is out there. I mean, you've
Yes.
given a couple of really good examples, but there may be more out there that we need to, definitely need to start researching, see what we can find. Dee, if somebody wants to find you, so they want to use Home Instead because you have such fabulous resources, where can they find you?
You can reach me at 713-417-0367. My email address is listed there on the screen. You can call me, you can text me, whatever's easiest for you. I find sometimes people want to text me to start the conversation, and I'm good with that. I'm here to help you. I have about 25 years in all aspects of senior care and assisted living, memory care, whatnot. Please, if you need help with anything that has to do with senior care, give me a call. I'm here to help you.
Perfect. And so Dee, thanks so much for being on the show today. We look forward to having you on again soon, and enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Life Happens with Kim Hegwood. Be sure to tune in every Thursday at 10 a.m. wherever you listen to your podcasts as we navigate through the challenges that emerge as life happens. The content of this podcast does not establish an attorney-client relationship or constitute attorney-client privilege, legal, medical, financial, or any other professional advice.